Oh, there we go.
As your background is concerned in your family, there's a great tenderness about your father, who died 4 years after your mother, at the end of the poem. A very great deal of warmth and feeling for that relationship. It must have been a very important one to you.
It was both my parents, after they died in 76 and 80, that's when I started writing poetry that was about them. And a lot of the poems that I'm known for now are the ones about my mother and my father in the School of Eloquence, the sonnets. And I wrote poems of grief, missing them in a language they would have understood. I cleared away all the showing off parts of my poetry, the references maybe. When you're young, you sort of plaster other things in to impress, and I cleared all that away, and I wrote a poetry. I thought, yes, that's the kind of poetry I want to write.
And poets often say, don't they, that the essence of the art is when you discover a kind of simplicity, that with all the cleverness and all the artifice which is necessary to make a poem of 112 stanzas work, it needs to have the technical superstructure to make it work on the page and in the ear. But in the end, when you've done all that and carried it off, it has to have an essential simplicity, doesn't it?
It does, and it doesn't always come initially like that. It comes in fragmentary impulses and so on. And when it has that kind of simplicity, that's when you start saying, maybe it's finished.
You say in the poem that you never feared the grave, but that what you fear is the great worked out black hollow under your grave. And I wondered what you meant by that.
I suppose it's building in the idea of nothingness into the poem, but also there's a part of the poem that talks about the creation of coal taking billions of years and so on, and then it's all been emptied. Underneath is where there was a pit, and it's been mined. And so that's why the graves list, because there's nothing underneath, and it's suddenly you think, there's a place where you rest, inverted commas, but even here, maybe this resting place is going to collapse into nothingness, as everything will probably eventually. But I didn't develop that part of the theme, it's just touched in to depress you, perhaps.
Let's have a last question to cheer us up.
Were you surprised at the reaction to the poem, or did you consider it validation of the anger you were feeling yourself?
I was surprised by the stupidity of it, especially in the press. Somebody rang me up and said, you better get the Daily Mail. I said, why? I never read the Daily. He said, you go and get it. And I went into the newsagents, and I looked through the Daily Mail, and I couldn't find anything. Then I closed it again and threw it down. And of course, it was on the front page. So, obscene TV poem fury,
Tony Harrison, thank you very much for being our guest on Book Club today and talking about that poem, V. Thank you too to our group of readers here at the Hexham Book Festival in Northumberland. And if you want to come along to a future recording, you can find all the details on the Book Club website. It's very easy to find that. And there you will also discover an archive of all our past programmes, which I know many of you enjoy delving into. Our July edition of the programme is with Maggie O'Farrell, and we'll be talking about her novel, The Vanishing Act of Esme Lennox. You can hear that one on Sunday, July the 3rd. Next week at this time, Mariella Frostrup will be back with Open Book, but from all of us here on Book Club, keep reading along with us until next month and the next book.